Welcome to FiceFilm. Today we'll explain the adventure drama film Life of Pi. This video contains major spoilers, so watch at your own risk. The movie starts in Pondicherry, a city in India that used to be a French colony. Piscine Patel's family runs a zoo there. Schoolboys tell him that his name, which comes from the French word for swimming pool, sounds like pissing. So he changes it to Pi, and he gets the nickname Pi by learning the never-ending tale of the mathematical constant. Pi was raised Hindu but wanted to know more about God, so he also looked into Christianity and Islam. To do this, he borrows symbols from each religion and uses them in his life, which upsets his strict father. Pi's father has to sell the family zoo and all the animals, so he takes a Japanese ship to Canada. Pi, who is now a teenager played by an inexperienced actor with a wide range named Suraj Sharma, has to leave his home and the young dancer he loves. The Japanese ship sinks in rough seas over the Marianas Trench, killing Pi's family. He is stranded on a 20-foot lifeboat with a single rat, a hungry hyena, an injured zebra, a protective orangutan, and a giant Bengal tiger named Richard Parker. Going back to the movie, in a flashback, we see that Pi's father named him Piscine Patel, the name of a French swimming pool. By the time he got to high school, he was tired of being called Piscine Patel, so he changed his name to Pi. Pi's family owned a zoo and was very interested in the animals, especially a Bengal tiger named Richard Parker. When Pi tries to feed Richard Parker through the cage bars, his angry father comes in and tells him that Richard Parker is dangerous and would kill him if he could. Pi's father makes him watch Richard Parker kill a goat to prove his point. Pi was raised Hindu and a vegetarian, but when he was 12, he learned about Christianity and Islam. He followed all three religions because he just wants to love God. His mother encourages him to grow, but his rationalist father tries to change him to think the way he does. When Pi is 16, his father decides to move the family to Canada, where he plans to settle down and sells the zoo animals. The people who live with Pi book passage on a Japanese freighter called Simsum. During a storm, Pi is on deck when the ship sinks. He tries to find his family, but a crew member throws him into a lifeboat. As the ship goes down into the water, a freed zebra jumps on with him and breaks its leg when it lands. Pi can't do anything as the ship sinks and his family drowns. After the ship goes away, Pi thinks he sees a survivor fighting for his life in the ocean. He calls out to the survivor, who swims toward the lifeboat, but it turns out to be Richard Parker. Pi uses an oar to stop the tiger from getting into the boat, but it gets in anyway. After the storm, Pi is in the lifeboat with a hurt zebra, an orangutan, who a floating crate of bananas had saved, also joins them. A spotted hyena comes out from under a tarp that covers half of the lifeboat and snaps at Pi, making him run to the end of the boat. At the same time, it kills and eats the zebra and then fights and kills the orangutan. Later, Richard Parker emerges from under the tarp and kills the hyena. He then tries to attack Pi, but Pi throws a rat into the hyena's mouth to distract it. Then, Richard Parker hides under the tarp and doesn't come out for a few days. When the inevitable fights over food and territory end, Richard Parker takes over the main lifeboat. Pi is left floating on a makeshift raft connected by a rope. Man and animal try to live together for 227 days, and the movie shows how Pi and Richard Parker form a special bond, and they fight over food and space under the protective tarp of the lifeboat. Together, they see amazing things like a wave of flying fish and a whale breaking through a bioluminescent ocean surface. They also see another huge storm and a green island where meerkats live. At the beginning and end of the movie, there are scenes in Pi's modern home and flashbacks to his life. However, Pi's story of how he survived is still the most important part of the story. After being at sea for a long time, Pi gets some biscuits, water, and hand eggs from the lifeboat and makes a small raft to stay away from Richard Parker. He starts fishing, which lets him feed Richard Parker. He also brings them rainwater to drink. When the tiger jumps into the water to look for fish to eat, Pi thinks about letting it drown, but in the end, he helps it climb back into the boat. One night, a humpback whale breaks the surface of the water and lands on the rope that connects the raft to the lifeboat, wrecking the raft. Pi loses most of his food, so he has to eat fish for the first time in his life. Pi teaches Richard Parker to accept him on the boat, and he realizes that caring for Richard Parker is what keeps him alive. After a few weeks, they reach a floating island with plants that can be eaten, a mangrove jungle, freshwater pools, and a lot of meerkats. Richard Parker and Pi eat and drink as much as they want and regain their strength. At night, the island turns into a dangerous place. Richard Parker hides in the lifeboat, and the meerkats sleeps in the trees. The freshwater pools turn acidic and eat the dead fish in them. When Pi finds a human tooth in flour, he realizes that the island itself eats meat. Pi and Richard Parker leaves the island the next day. After a while, the boat makes it to the coast of Mexico. Pi's heart is broken because Richard Parker doesn't say anything to him before he disappears into the jungle. Pi is saved and he is taken to the hospital. Agents from the freighter's Japanese owner's insurance company talk to him. Still, they don't believe what he says and ask him what really happened. Pi tells a different story. He doesn't share the lifeboat with animals, but with his mother, a Buddhist sailor with a broken leg, and the cook. In this story, Pi says that the cook killed the sailor so that he could eat him and use him as bait. In a later fight, Pi's mother pushed her son onto a smaller raft to keep him safe, but the cook killed her and threw her body overboard. Pi then took the knife and killed the cook. He could make it to Mexico by eating the cook's flesh. The insurance agents are also unhappy with this story, but they do not ask Pi any more questions before leaving. Yann then talks about the similarities between the two stories. The orangutan was Pi's mother, the zebra was the sailor, and hyena was the cook, and Richard Parker was Pi. Pi asks Yann which story he likes the best. Yann says, the one with the tiger, because it is the better story. Thank you, and so it is with God, Pi says. Yann looks at a copy of the insurance report and sees that the agents wrote that Pi survived 227 days at the sea with an adult Bengal tiger. This means that they also chose to record the first story. Lee never breaks the viewers' suspensions of disbelief, even though he uses a lot of computerized special effects that would be impossible in real life. The effect used to show the zoo animals in the movie, especially the CGI used for Richard Parker, are nothing short of amazing. Even though 4 different tigers were used in many scenes, Richard Parker's behavior would have been too dangerous for a real animal to handle. The real-life and computer-generated images work together perfectly. The movie does a great job of showing wild attacks and even a seasick tiger. And the scene of the ship sinking is hauntingly beautiful. The movie was filmed in Montreal and India, among other places. Lee's crew had to build a huge tank in Taiwan for the sea scenes, which were made up of many computer-generated images. The horizon, where the water and sky meet, has a painted look because it is where the water and sky meet. This is where the water and sky reflect each other in fantastic, illusory ways.